YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today we're talking about the biggest training camp battles in the NFL during this preseason. I have 11 of them, some big ones, some interesting ones. We're going to break down my thoughts on them, who will win, who should win, maybe things like that. I had our super followers on Twitter kind of play along and vote for who they think will win, predicting who will win for these 11 biggest training camp battles. So yeah, training camp's underway. We're hearing some things, who's standing out, who's not. So that definitely played a part in this, and things will continue to change. I'm ready for the season to kick off here. Preseason right around the corner. So join us for all this content. Like, subscribe to notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. If you super follow us, you get involvement in these videos and some bonus content, especially during the season. So first one's that Seahawks quarterback battle. And we got to throw Jimmy Garoppolo in here. I kind of just recently thought of that. I didn't have, when I had the super followers vote, which we'll take a look at. I wish I gave them the option of Jimmy Garoppolo there, but yeah, to start off with Drew Lock and Geno Smith, I think it's kind of bold going Jimmy Garoppolo at this point because he's not on the team. He's still on the 49ers. But between Lock and Geno Smith, it seems like Geno Smith is getting most of the first-team reps. Lock got a little bit of them. It sounds like they like Lock and they like what they see from him at this early stage. It's just Geno played all right for them last year. It's just very difficult for them to go maybe Geno over or Lock over Geno Smith. So if I had to predict between those two, it would probably be Geno. And when I did quarterback rankings, I used Geno as the Seahawks starter, so that was my thoughts then. Maybe I'm a little closer to being locked than I was then, but it very well could be Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the 49ers eventually end up cutting Garoppolo, and the Seahawks feel like the best bet to sign him. If he's available for free as a free agent, maybe other teams kind of get involved, the Browns, Texans, some other teams that we've heard, but it very well could be Jimmy Garoppolo there. But we'll take a look at and again, I wish I gave him, I kind of just thought of that as I was making this video. I wish I gave the super followers when they were voting an option for Jimmy Garoppolo, but 55.6% said Lock. And like I said, I'm a little closer to 50-50 on the Geno versus Lock right now. So it is very interesting to say the least. So we'll see if those are the two guys the whole way. We'll see. Things could change. Maybe the biggest one, maybe the most talked about one, perhaps, Steelers quarterback battle between three guys here. It's Mitchell Trubisky, who was their free agency signing, Mason Rudolph, who's been with the Steelers obviously for a bit, and their first-round draft pick, Kenny Pickett. Now, since they drafted Kenny Pickett, I've been saying it's Pickett. Pickett's the guy. It's got to be Pickett. Why? Because it's got to be. You don't just draft the most pro-ready, I got to use those, pro-ready quarterback from a weak quarterback class instead of taking the upside guy, waiting to take the upside guy like Malik Wilson in the third round, or just a sure thing talented starter on, we'll say, defense who was available in the first round and not start that guy. You don't just take that guy and not start him, over Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. So that's why the whole way I was kind of saying it's just got to be Pickett. But as camp's starting, and it's a very small sample size so far of what we've seen from these guys, it doesn't look like Pickett's ready, and it feels like the Steelers know that, and it feels like that Pickett is the third-string quarterback right now. So I've actually shifted my thoughts on that, on who I think they'll start. And I hear good things about Mason Rudolph, and we saw a quote this morning at Chase Claypool really loves Mason Rudolph, his accuracy. But it just sounds like they like Mitchell Trubisky. I just feel like Mitchell Trubisky is going to be the starter week one. That's just really what it feels like right now. So that actually is a change in my prediction. And the Pickett situation, it's kind of brutal at this point. Like I said, I can go on a rant all day. I kind of get upset with it. So almost like I'm a fan of the Steelers, but I'm not. But I almost get upset at them with that draft pick already. And of course, Pickett could be good in the long run. Maybe sitting. Of course, that could happen. But you take the most pro-ready quarterback in a weak quarterback class. You had some guys with some upside that you could have waited to take. You could have, helped that defense. It was quite a few good corners, pass rushers available. Just think about adding Jermaine Johnson in there with T.J. Watt and Highsmith. I think Highsmith would be more of a rotation guy. I think that would be ideal. Just an example. Quay Walker for linebacker. It's pretty brutal look if Pickett is especially the third string. Colbert was a hell of a GM, but this being his last move, it's kind of one I would remember. It's pretty bad. So we'll see what happens there. Not thrilled with the Steelers and their decision with that draft pick already, and we haven't even got started yet. So I'm kind of feeling it's going to be Trubisky. And then kind of we'll look at the the fans are kind of on the same page there. No one voted for Rudolph, which I was surprised because it feels like Rudolph has a better chance at this early stage than Pickett. Some good reports from Rudolph there, so surprised he got 0%. But I think we're in agreement on Mitchell Trubisky right now, so we'll see how that works out for them. They got a pretty good roster, so I mean they'll be able to win some ball games. They got a good coaching staff. Next, back to the Seahawks. Seahawks running back, Rashad Penny and Kenny Walker. And this is a very tough one here because you draft Kenny Walker pretty high. He's a standout running back from Michigan State, a lot of upside. Still has, it's not like they wore him out in college as well. Still got a lot, to room to grow, and he's already pretty damn good, you think, even before taking an NFL snap. But Rashad Penny ended the year on a high note. Really just had a very good season last year. Extremely productive. His yards per carry, ridiculous. Maybe that's the guy they thought they were going to get with that first-round pick a few years back. It's just about staying healthy when it comes to Rashad Penny. But it's tough because Kenny Walker's so good, and he's probably the future because Penny's on a one-year deal. They resigned to a one-year deal. That Kenny Walker, that would make sense for him, maybe him being the guy. Well, they want him to be the guy, should be the guy. It kind of makes sense. It's a little tricky on my explanation on this maybe. I think Rashad Penny wins the battle. It's kind of like how he finished last year and him not being a rookie, him more being a polished veteran. How do you not start him week one? They almost have to start him week one, and he's good enough too. So it's not like, is he good enough and we have to do this? No, he's good enough, and it feels like they kind of have to. So I think Penny wins the battle to start day one, snap number one. But I could make the case that Kenny Walker probably gets more snaps this year, just maybe because they ease into it. They kind of, not slowly, but they kind of go into it, because Penny's got one more year left. Walker's our guy for the future. We got to see if he's that guy. Can he handle this, So for those reasons, and Penny has the injury concern as well, which you don't want to bring, you hate to say that, will he get hurt? And that's why Walker takes over. It's hard to predict. But I think, mainly because Walker's the guy of the future, Penny on a one-year deal. Walker may end up getting most of the snaps and be the starter at some point. I think Penny wins the training camp battle. It may already be decided, and he starts week one against the Broncos, but they'll be split pretty good there. So, that's definitely an interesting one for the reasons I explained. But, the super followers over on Twitter, big Penny guys for him being a starter, 83.3%. They may agree, too, that Walker may eventually take over. So, we'll see. Might be pretty crazy. Not crazy, but be pretty interesting, to say the least, intriguing if Walker is the starter right away. It wouldn't be that surprising to me. But interesting, very interesting. A lot of running back battles. Bills running backs, and they have more in this too. They have Zach Moss and Duke Johnson, but you really feel like the starting running back one is got to be between Devin Singletary and James Cook here. James Cook, a big-time draft pick, really fits their offense, pass-first offense, very good receiving back, probably before even taking a snap. Feel like he's a sure thing to be one of the better receiving backs in football. And he was getting better and stronger as a runner, as an actual runner as well. A few weeks ago, I probably would have said, Singletary's going to be their RB1. Right away. He's going to get most of the snaps. They're going to use Cook in some serious situations, impact situations. Maybe he'll get more snaps as the year goes on. That's what I would have said a couple weeks ago. Now it's pretty close to 50-50. And my take on this is Devin Singletary, the very first snap of the season, maybe it's Singletary out there, but I think even in the very first game of the season, I think we see more snaps to James Cook. I'm actually really starting to believe that, so it's going to feel like he is the running back one. They're coming out and saying we view him as definitely a lot more as a pass catcher, and I see the upside and where he's grown to, improved to as an actual runner as well. And it's just, again, he fits the Bills' offense so much with that passing game where you do not want it to become predictable. Like Cook's out there, all right, they're passing because he's a receiving option. You don't want it to become predictable, so you have to use him in the run game. So I think maybe they trot out Singletary on that very first snap in week one, but I think also in week one, Cook probably maybe gets more snaps. So actually my prediction right now is James Cook, their rookie, is going to feel like more of the running back one in my opinion, my prediction there. So it'd be pretty damn close, though, obviously. And Singletary was solid last year, especially down the stretch. So that'd be a tough decision for them. It was a 50-50 exactly for the super followers here. So that is definitely a tough one. But I think a few weeks ago we were all in agreement we'd probably lean more towards Singletary. That percentage might be up higher for Singletary. Now it's definitely getting closer based on what the Bills are showing us, mainly saying here. So yeah, I can't wait to see how they use Cook when he's in the game, how it looks. I cannot wait for that. I love that draft pick for sure for the Bills. That could be that one that impact player that kind of gets them that next step, because it just makes them so much more unique there with their passing and running game. Next, the Jags running backs. Like I said, a lot of running back battles. James Robinson versus Travis Etienne. And again, a few weeks ago, I'd say definitely James Robinson. They were feeling pretty good about his injury. We were hearing good things, progress for him. Maybe he didn't need to start out with the pup, and we later found out he didn't need to. And James Robinson's been great for them, so kind of leading Robinson. Now I'm kind of leading Etienne. And it's great that James Robinson doesn't have to start in the pup list, but you see him working out there. He still doesn't look 100% to me. We've seen the football doc say that as well. It seems like I thought the same exact thing when I saw the videos. It seems like he's favoring his good side, which is not good, not good. So maybe he won't be 100%. And then we got that new staff in there, Doug Peterson, and the way Doug Peterson uses those running backs, and having a guy like Etienne who's like kind of a do-it-all type running back. I'm starting to lean towards Etienne being that guy. I really am. So that'll be my prediction for week 1. Etienne winning that battle, and I'm being excited about his skill set, where he could get to. And again, he was hurt last year as well, but I feel like he's 100% right now. So that is actually my pick, which I would have said, a few weeks ago. I definitely would have went Robinson. So it's pretty interesting that I kind of shifted like that. And very interesting that I was surprised to see the fans go a very large percentage to Etienne. That's actually surprised me there, the super followers. I think most people, I would predict that most people out there still think it'd be James Robinson because how good he's been. But I do worry about him being 100%. And then, again, Etienne's skill set there. So maybe they're on the same page with that. So interesting, very interesting to say the least there. But I'm excited to watch because we didn't get to see Etienne last year. We were robbed of watching Etienne and his, he wasn't like didn't have the running back feel like Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, but he's just such a unique skill set and so talented that it's just, we missed watching him last year. So excited to watch him with Trevor Lawrence, who was his teammate all along at Clemson. Next up, Dolphins running back race between 4 guys, I'd say. Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, who is familiar with that Mike McDaniel offensive playbook and system there. Sony Michel and Myles Gaskin. It's a pretty good group there. It's just crazy to think that Myles Gaskin might go from their RB1 a year later to their RB4. It's definitely a realistic possibility there. Pretty crazy to think about. But this is a tough one for me. This is really a tough one for me is what I'm trying to say. And I didn't really think so before because they signed Edmonds. Edmonds might have been the very first signing of free agency besides extensions and everything. So it was very clear that they liked Edmonds a lot. They had some good plans. So that's why I was like pretty firm on Edmonds. But you really start to think about it, Edmonds kind of transitioning to that different style of running that, scheme-wise. They're obviously confident about him, so a little bit of a transition. Mostert familiar with the playbook and the scheme, of course, and he's very talented if healthy, and he's out there looking good at camp already. Mike McDaniel familiar with him, obviously. Then Sony Michel, we know fits that running style, of course. You want those power runners in that type of, we think that 49ers style running game. And then Myles Gaskin, who's been there. Myles Gaskin would be the bold pick for sure. So it was 50-50 for me between Edmonds and Mostert because Mostert's healthy right now. Again, the chemistry, the fit, the all of the above. They know he's good. Do they use him until he starts to wear down? Is that the strategy? But I do think it'll be Edmonds because they really were in on him. They liked him right away, got him right away. Big plans for him. Mostert is coming off that injury. They want to take it easy with him. They don't want to overdo it and have him get hurt so they don't have him anymore. So those would be the reasons I go Edmonds. Edmonds so involved with that pass game too. I think they want to get Tua going and simplify things for him on the, kind of a quick game, a small ball passing game, kind of get Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle involved. That Edmonds plays a big part in that. So that is why I ultimately decided to go with Chase Edmonds there, and a big win for Edmonds with the super followers are 83.3%, and no votes for Michel or Gaskin, which isn't that surprising there. But I wouldn't be shocked if they sent out Mostert, that first snap there. I would not be surprised at all. So we will see. Next up, Patriots wide receiver 1. So their number 1 receiver, and every team has. There's a lot of people out there that say, okay, this is their receiver 1, this is their receiver 2, this is their receiver 3, but they're all starters. I'm more of a fan of having multiple receiver 1s, or if you have them, calling them multiple receiver 1s. But who will be their number 1, their top guy, the most snaps, the most productive, all of that, heading into going into the season here. So got Devontae Parker, who was their big addition, a big trade there. Well, not a big trade, but the big addition there with that trade. And we've seen the flashes from him in the past as well, and they know he fits. And Jacoby Myers, who's really been taken off recently. Kendrick Bourne, who I thought really got going and played more down the stretch last season. And Nelson Aguilar, who was supposed to be their receiver 1 last year. It didn't really work out. Maybe he kind of gets going in the second year. And then you could consider Tyquan Thornton, the rookie from Baylor, because the Patriots liked him that much. They traded up in the second round to get him. So I don't think he'll be. I think he'll be productive, maybe more productive than people think, get more snaps than people think. But I don't think he'll be receiver 1. So it's an interesting one. I think you look at, and again, they really liked Bourne at the end of last year, and Aguilar was supposed to be their receiver 1. So those guys have an opportunity here. But I really look at Parker and Myers. And I think it ends up being Myers. I know they traded for Parker, and Parker will be that number 1 wideout, true wideout guy. Myers' ability to play in the slot, play outside, consistently get open, have a high percentage of snaps compared to the other receivers last year. And I still think he's getting better. He's starting to get better in the red zone, find the end zone, which was a problem before. It still feels like he's getting better. I still think he's getting better, growing with Mac Jones on top of it, who also is getting better. So I think Jacoby Myers is their guy. That's my pick. Even though it seems close, I do feel pretty good about that. The only downside here is the Patriots. We know that they're a little hesitant to dish out that next contract off the rookie contract, and Myers is kind of playing for that this year. So are they kind of looking for the future here, playing some other guys? I don't think so at Myers. I think they'd be open to re-signing him. We'll see what he has this year. We'll see if he can continue to improve. So, hey, maybe we'll give out some of that money because he wouldn't be overly expensive right now. If they were interested, or maybe a year from now interested in re-signing him long-term. So, and I think he steps up even more this year because he's playing for that contract, and that's what he is improving still. He is getting better. So, for all those reasons, Jacoby Myers is my pick to be their wide receiver 1, but we'll see it somewhat even across the board there. And then kind of looking at, we got a 50-50 Parker Myers, so nobody thinks Aguilar or Bourne. 50-50. It does seem like they trade for Parker. He's still got that upside. He has that flash ability, impact, big play ability, so could be that guy there. I like Myers for them, though. I like both of them for him. I think that was a good trade for Parker. Next up, Packers receiver 2. So not receiver 1, receiver 2. I think it's sure thing. Alan Lazard is receiver 1. Receiver 2, there's a battle. Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson, Randall Cobb, who, familiar with Aaron Rodgers, been around for a while, and Romeo Doubs. And interesting, Sammy Watkins actually came back today, but he has been beat up, and he continues to get beat up. We know the talent level, though. And Christian Watson was maybe their big offensive draft pick, top of the second round trade, two seconds to get him. He's on the PUP list to start camp, and I do think he's kind of a raw prospect. Like he looks the part, and he has the traits. He just hasn't been able to, in college at North Dakota State, wasn't able to kind of use those traits fully. Kind of need to learn that from an NFL system, an NFL coaching staff, maybe Aaron Rodgers. So factor that in as well as him starting on the PUP list. And Randall Cobb, good option because he's got that chemistry, of course, familiar with everything there. Then Romeo Doubs, which I really like that draft pick, and I actually thought he could be a little more pro-ready than Watson, even though Watson has that upside. And then it turns out that Doubs is tearing it up so far at this early stage in training camp, and they like him a lot. And so I kind of went bold here. I think Romeo Doubs ends up being their receiver too. I really like the fit. I loved him at Nevada. His deep ball tracking, his red zone ability, his ability to get in the end zone, just felt so right with Aaron Rodgers. Such a perfect fit. And I actually tweeted that too when they drafted Doubs. Like I could see him being just as productive, and I thought even more possibly year 1 than Watson. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And now he's tearing it up at training camp. I think most people would probably, we'll see what everyone voted for, but I predict that Watkins would probably be the pick, and it very well could be. I went a little bold here. I just worry about Watkins' injuries popping up, and I just think if Rodgers connects with the guy in training camp and preseason, and he likes a guy like this, and he thinks he he feels that he fits the part, he plays the part, then he'll be that guy. And I think Romeo Doubs at this early stage is kind of looking like that. So excited about the young player from Nevada there. And we'll see if my bold prediction, maybe it's not that bold. Maybe Packers fans, because what they're hearing, what they're seeing, they're probably seeing more than me because they're locked in on one team's training camp. Maybe they wouldn't think it's a surprise. It's not bold that Doubs could be that guy. That's definitely possible. And the fans went with Watkins. Not really surprising. Doubs not getting any love there, but that's not surprising either because it is a little bold, I do think. So we'll see. Curious to see who gets this. Like Lazar's going to be one, but like who's 2, 3, 4, 5? Who are those guys? How much snaps do they get? I'm very curious to see there what the Packers have in store for us without Devontae Adams. And then next up, we got the Buccaneers receiver 3. I don't think this is much of a. That's why I wanted to do 10. I did 11 biggest camp battles. This really wasn't one of the. This is kind of the last one, the 11th one, even though we still got 2 more. I think, yeah. And but this is a kind of a big topic, big talking point around the league because the Buccaneers got Julio Jones, and Julio Jones is a shot for receiver 3, but as you can tell, I think Russell Gage is their guy for receiver 3. Then they want to limit Julio Jones so he stays healthy, and Gage really stepped up last year. I mean, not just sometimes guys step up production-wise, and sometimes it's a scheme thing or whatever, but Russell Gage legitimately improved his game last year, and that was with Matt Ryan not having a lot of time to throw. Interesting offense, centered around almost felt like Cordero Patterson. So I thought he was very solid last year and improved. So now he goes to this very talented Bucs offense with the best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. Looks pretty good. And they gave him a good amount of money. So I think Russell Gage, he's got to be their receiver 3. So I'm excited to watch Julio Jones with this group of guys, and they'll limit him as they should. But he'll still be productive. Maybe they save him for the red zone, things like that. But just a thought, But very excited to watch this Buccaneers offense. I think we always are. And then the Julio 85.7. That's why it's a pretty big talking point because I think most people, think Julio Jones, one of the best receivers they've ever watched, play the game. He's got to be the guy. But, yeah, I think he does have to be limited a little bit. I think people don't realize that Gage is getting better. What's Gage going to be like with Tom Brady, the Bucs? So I think there's a group of people out there that think, Julio, it's Julio Jones. Like, he's got to get the ball a lot. He's got to play a lot. He's great. And he still has that talent. There's a group of people that are like, he's kind of washed up. And I don't know if I'm really with either of those. I think the talent's still in there. It just seems to be a hamstring issue. That seems to one that, and I've had hamstring issues. It's a very annoying, one to deal with there. That's kind of it almost doesn't go away sometimes. So, that's a tricky part. So I think not really because of his talent, because he's just got to be limited a little bit. But Russell Gage's talent, where he's getting to, that's really why I'm on the side that I'm on here with this one. So that's definitely one that could be debated around, with all the fans here around the league here, because a lot of people still love Julio, as they should, Colts left tackle, I think, is an interesting one because there's no big name guy out there, and Dennis Kelly's more of a right tackle. I think he has some sort of shot left tackle, but that would be that bold prediction in my opinion. I think it's really between Matt Pryor and Bernard Ryman, who they drafted. It was a great draft pick, by the way, a steal I thought in the 3rd round. I don't hesitate with this one. I think it's Matt Pryor. They had him last year. They brought him in last year. They brought him back, obviously, and they have. High hopes for him. They believe he can be the guy, and he's the starter so far in training camp. He's getting all the first-team reps. And Ryman, you start to wonder why he dropped, because he was getting talked about as a late first-round pick. He's a former tight end turned tackle. He's still kind of a raw guy, a lot of upside. And I think he's the guy for the future for the Colts. I think it was a great pick, but it might take a little bit of time. They're going to feel more comfortable with Matt Pryor, so I'm pretty damn confident with that one. As much as people maybe want Ryman to be the guy, and I think he will be, but eventually. But I'm pretty confident with Matt Pryor on that one. Even though it's interesting because it feels like the Colts got a 1st-round or 2nd-round player in the 3rd round with Ryman there. So, and the fans went Ryman. More of the bigger name, even though he's a rookie and hasn't been playing tackle for the longest time. He's actually the bigger name than a guy like Matt Pryor. Actually, was last in this, and Dennis Kelly. It could be Dennis Kelly. Dennis Kelly has the most experience. He's got some solid play. Struggled with the Packers a little bit last year. Was more of a right tackle, but I think he has, because he's the veteran guy, more polished guy. Maybe he has a shot. So I'm pretty confident with Pryor. on that one, even though he's not getting a lot of the votes. So we'll see. We'll see on that one. And then we got our last one here, which is also sticking at the offensive tackle position, but going on the right side, the Denver Broncos. They brought in a lot of competition for that right tackle spot there. We know that Garrett Bowles, their left tackle. We knew they already had Calvin Anderson, who is, and there isn't 2 I in his names. The graphics guy jacked that up, but that's all right. You get the idea. Anderson was already there, and he very well could be the right tackle. But they brought in Billy Turner, who's been an experienced right tackle for the Packers the last several years here. They brought in Tom Compton. We've seen him play with quite a few spots, Niners, Vikings. We've seen him play right tackle and guard. And then Cameron Fleming, who they just signed recently, and that kind of makes you think, like, they obviously are not 100% sure. They want more competition. They bring in Fleming, so it makes you and he spelled the spelling of his last name is wrong as well, Cam Fleming. But he so that makes you think, like, what do they know something? Do they feel like maybe Fleming's the guy because they didn't really like what they're seeing? But I mean, camp just started at the same time when they signed him, so I think Fleming's most likely a backup or a competition guy. Could be wrong. Tom Compton I always liked better at guard than tackle. They may like it. They may just have him in for a versatile backup. Like if somebody goes down at guard or tackle or somebody's struggling, we got Tom Compton. I think it's mainly between Turner and Anderson. Anderson, I think ultimately ends up being the second string left tackle. That's my prediction. I think Billy Turner's the best of the bunch at the actual right tackle position. You can argue Compton maybe is the best player because his experience at guard tackle. But I think, talking about right tackle, I think Turner is the best one. I do think so. So to me, it should be Turner, and because I feel so strongly about that, I think it ultimately will be Billy Turner there, and I think that was a good signing, good pickup. I like some teams are just like they signed this guy, we're going to insist on this guy. They drafted this guy, whether it's this year or a couple years ago. We don't want competition. I hate that. I hate that so much. So I applaud the Broncos for not settling, bringing in some competition. I like that. I like that a lot. They mean business. You see where their heads are at with everything. So can't be afraid to find a way to get better and bring in some competition. So I actually like that a lot. And then the fans kind of went with Billy Turner there. No votes for Compton, who again everyone could be agreement with him. Maybe he's that versatile backup that everybody wants, or maybe he's just a backup guard. Maybe he's a backup right tackle. Fleming, same thing, battling for backup right or left tackle spot. And then Anderson, I think, will ultimately be that backup left tackle. Billy Turner, I'm predicting, as well as the super followers, to be that starting right tackle. So heads are in the same spot in that one. So there's more camp battles for sure. We can talk about them on Twitter if you want. We can talk about them in the comments. But yeah, always interacting with you guys, especially on Twitter. Follow that. And if you want to super follow us, you get exclusive content, bonus rankings, and then involvement, things like this, and more during the season as well. So check that out. Link down below for anything you're looking for. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on for NFL coverage here at the GOAT House. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.